SmashFactor.
Ripping driver, going for it. Oh my goodness. How about that tee shot?
That is crazy how far that is.
Wow. John Daly, take a back seat, big fella. How about that drive?
That's an aggressive line. That is beyond long.
Look at this, he's just driven the green. He has just driven the green.
I guess hello world, huh?
Welcome everybody to episode 87 of the SmashFactor, the 2019 and first edition of the ZOZO Championship at Accordia Golf Narashino Country Club in Japan. Gup here, as always, with my partner in crime tonight, Nagel's Bagels, at Nagel's Bagels on Twitter. Jeff, how you doing tonight?
What's up, Gup? How are you? I'm freaking awesome. I had a great weekend with the in the NFL. I know we're not talking about that. We didn't do a show last week, but a couple of the guys that I would have talked about, at least in the mid range, the hot Patton, Connors, Benny Ann, they all had good weeks, and I'm feeling pretty good about my picks this week. Got to be honest with you. So I've been heating up.
Yeah, which was on me. I kind of wrote about that. Obviously, if you're a podcast listener only, you didn't get much insight, but I did write about it. I was traveling for business, so I had to not do the show. Then realized we couldn't even do the Emergency 9, as we will not be able to this week either, because the tournament starts at, I'm going to assume, somewhere around 5 or 6 o'clock Central Time. So 7 or 6 o'clock Eastern Time. Wednesday, being that it's 14 hours ahead of me, so 13 hours ahead of the East Coast. So we will not have time to get that in. So we'll try to get all the content and stuff in a little bit earlier this week to adjust to that schedule. And then obviously hit up Slack as much as we can leading up to tea time. Obviously during the day, Wednesday, it's hard, but we try to get as much covered tomorrow night as we can. Not as much the unknown this week, as opposed to weather was a big concern last week and how it affects the course. This week will be more of not knowing the course, being that we don't have any stats from it. It's first time actually a PGA Tour event's ever been held in Japan. But some got a little sneak preview of the course last night, watching the Skins game with Rory, Tiger, Day, and Matsu. I watched a little bit of it and then watched the last hour parts of it throughout the day during my lunch and stuff. I think the last part was a little bit more interesting than the beginning. I think Tiger heated up, wound up getting several skins. I think all of them had a chance to win on 18. So it was a little more entertaining towards the end than maybe the front. I heard the first hour or so wasn't real great for the people that watched it. The website actually has a tremendous flyover and hole by hole to kind of give you an outbreak of what the course looks like. So I don't think it's, going to be a crazy surprise of how it's going to play. I'm sure the industry will be using similar courses as everybody to compare the course. We'll have our own breakdown. As far as last week goes, did you do any DFS at all, or did you take the week off?
No, I pretty much took the week off. I'm glad I did, because I don't know if I would have been on JT or not. But once we decided that we weren't going to be able to do the podcast, then I just kind of took a step back, and I knew I was going to be into this week and definitely into next week. So I'm just, I concentrated on NFL, and I had a pretty decent week. So I'm glad I did. It worked out. So, yeah,
I had a pretty decent start at the tournament. And actually, I was in it I had decent sweat all the way through. Ended up basically bubbling everything Sunday, which kind of sucked. I didn't have JT. My bullet lineup was really, really good, but it had Scott Piercy, who shot 13 over. So 5 of the 6 guys were really, really good. I think all finished in the top 15, and then Piercy coming up close to DFL. kind of hurt that one, especially in a no-cut event like that. It really is hard to compete if you don't have 6 guys that get up at least top 30 or scoring-wise top 30. Some guys didn't have to finish in a no-cut event. We'll kind of talk a little bit later, is that guys can outscore their positions, and that matters even more when you have 4 guaranteed rounds barring withdrawals. Listener League was fired up back up last week. Wiz Brian, who's a longtime follower and fan of Gup's Corner, took it down with 559. I saw our boy Tambo finish 4th. Wiz Brian's lineup was JT, Neiman, Glover, Connors, Vegas, and Palmer. That's probably my only heartache of the week. I pulled off of Vegas after his kind of personal tweet came out Monday or Tuesday about been fighting through back. It almost seemed like he was going to maybe withdraw because he said time to let it rest up, and then he plays. Didn't have the best of starts, so you're kind of like, man, because I had a pretty set lineup that involved him at 6,400, and then moved off of that, which led me on to Piercy, so that didn't really work out. But he winds up playing, starts out slow, then he shoots a fire round Sunday, finishes strong, either top 15-ish, top 20, something like that. So paid off. Not dumb move by me, but unfortunately didn't stay on him. But overall, pretty solid lineup here. Glover was his worst at 39th. Everybody else was T16 or better, 3 T12s, and then obviously no cut event. You almost have to have the winner to take down a GPP like that. And he had JT, who for the most part looked really, really good all week. Never really took a step back. Hit the ball well, played like we're used to him playing. I think last year only issue was him with post-Honda wrist injury, maybe a little bit out of sight, out of mind, but obviously one of the top 3 or 4 guys in the country or in the world at any given time. This week Listener League is already back up. Winner will get $25 merch credit. As you can tell, I'm wearing one of our shirts that will debut hopefully Wednesday, maybe Thursday at the latest, sometime this week for sure. Don't know the exact date. We're going to load everything up and get it all in. I wore the brand new Gup's Corner shirt on the Audible, if you're a premium member, Saturday night. So people got a sneak preview of that. All that stuff will be on the website. We're waiting to put it up because we're going to do combo packs and stuff like that for those that want to buy more, and they'll be able to save a little bit. HV3, we partnered with his foundation. These shirts, all of the profits after our cost will go to our business cost, will go to the HV3 Foundation. Probably 85% of every shirt we're hoping will get back directly to the foundation. Obviously, HV3 is involved with it. We worked with him and his agent getting this stuff ready, and that'll go on our website as well at the same time. It's a limited quantity. It's a 1 order only. We won't reorder them. Once they're gone, they're gone. We expect them to go quick to help out a great foundation. Before we head on to the ZOZO Championship, quick sponsor and affiliates, fantasynational.com/GUP. Click on the link there. Save 20% off your next subscription. Still pretty decent amount of than this year. And then with the tight window next year, you obviously – it's good to buy, at least a monthly if you're wanting to get through fall swing, but we ramp right back up for the tournament champions. And because of the Olympics and the Ryder Cup next year, very condensed schedule. So an annual could be the way to go there. Fanshare Sports, 20% off with the code GUP. All of these links are on the website, gupscorner.com/affiliates. If you want to direct click and save, get the pro advantage on ownership. Obviously, if you're a member of our site, you get my ownership each week. These guys take it a little more in depth. If you are into that kind of thing and want to deep dive into buzz, tags, all that kind of stuff, they have it all covered. 20% off with the code GUP. Rate and review us on iTunes, Instagram, Facebook. Subscribe on YouTube and Twitch. Obviously, we got some merchandise coming out. DK money given out, and a big future contest that we hope to announce here in the next week or so, maybe on the coin flip this week. I need to make sure we got the details laid out. Best way to get entered in all that is to rate and review us on iTunes, because you get double the entry there. I always, in a big contest, pick a review from iTunes. You guys have done an amazing job the last month helping us out there. Actually, last 2 months or so, we've had a ton of reviews, which is great. Our subscribers on YouTube have jumped. All that stuff's great Takes 4 or 5 minutes probably to do all 6 of those, get you in the entries. You're in for life once you're in, per se. Like, I don't trash them after we give away and then start fresh. I mean, if you've done it, you're still in the drawing each and every time we do a big giveaway. Obviously, as we get closer to the Masters, we'll have some huge giveaways. You want to make sure you're in those. Go ahead and knock that out now. This week only, actually through Wednesday night, you can join gupscorner.com for 25% off any package through Wednesday night at midnight. Whether you want the football tools, the content analysis, which includes all sports, NBA, new this year, MLB, which will be new, full slate starting in the 2020 spring season. We are covering it now, as far as the World Series and stuff. D-Rock's heading that up. Preston heads up our NBA package. Our NBA content, all our content analysis package includes all sports. So NFL, PGA, college football, which has been fire, NBA, MLB. It's one nice thing about the way we lay it out. You buy that one package, you get everything we post, our thoughts, our rankings, all that kind of stuff. If you want to go deep dive, you can buy the football tools, which you still have over half the season left. If you want to check that out, now's the time. You can buy a combo package for 25% off. Whichever package you want, you get 25% off. One added bonus right now. If you content analysis pack, now you get free access to our PGA tools that continue to get enhanced and upgraded every week as we go through the fall swing. They are free with your content analysis package purchase, and they will go live premium version for the Tournament of Champions in January. We're looking forward to that. All that behind us, let's dive into the ZOZO Championship. It is held at the Accordia Golf Narashino Country Club. I believe I'm saying that correctly. Par 70, 7,000 yards. If you watched last night, you can kind of tell a lot of trees, a lot of holes you can take less than driver. There are some holes you can take some risk on. It is you can get in jail pretty quick though if you get sprayed off the tee if you try to go for something crazy. A little bit of smaller greens, tricky greens, typical bent grass, subtle breaks here and there. You can think Augusta like if you want, but bent grass in general, if it's good pure bent grass greens, they're going to have subtle breaks that are tough, and I think that'll come into play this week. It's a big prize pool overall. I think almost $10 million US. First place is 1.75, which, just thinking back to the one and done contest, that would have been up there as far as prize winners. 500 FedEx points, so it's a big boy event. It is a 78 man no cut event again. Lot stronger field than last week up top, especially, which bumped some pricing down to give some value and maybe perceived value. We'll get into that in the 6,000-7,000s. Cooler weather in general. I got highs in the 60s, low 70s. Chance of rain Thursday and Friday right now. Thursday and Friday afternoons both look pretty windy. So I'm looking at some wind players factored in a little early on Monday to just go with that as a full go, but I do have that in the back of my mind as we get a little closer. Obviously, it's already Tuesday morning over there probably, so it'll be interesting to kind of get an update 24 hours from now to see what those are looking like. Nagels, although no history here, nothing like that, is there anything else that popped to you in any kind of research or stood out before we get into key stats?
Yeah, well, they said that from what I'd read and based on the info you sent me, which was awesome, by the way, thank you for that. You alluded to it to be like a less than driver course, so it makes you think. I've heard comp courses like Valspar and Colonial and Heritage and those type of those tighter tracks. So I am I'm thinking of those types of places when I'm doing the research, and kind of leads me to the stats that I'm looking into. Where you're gonna have your fairways gained, you're gonna have your strokes gained approach, guys that aren't gonna spray it off the tee too much, keep the ball in play. But also you have to remember now, obviously it's a no cut event. You're gonna want to meet guys that are gonna be making birdies, and these types of no cut events are usually right in my wheelhouse. Like I usually have good weeks at the Tournament of Champions, I have good weeks at the Tour Championship. So I have like a good type of player in mind that I'm looking at that we're gonna get into. But Is there any other stats besides that? You taken into like around the green too much, or what do you think of that?
In general, I think the uniqueness, and this is blind leading the blind to an extent, but I just looking at everything, how it plays, tricky greens. I don't see it as being a very high scoring event. I think it's going to be a challenge for these guys. I don't think Japan gives a shit whether they, the players love it and it's a 22 under. I think they're, pride in a sense. I don't know if that comes out right, but maybe Kenny Kim will have some more on this. I know he's really great at the course preview, and obviously go check out his pod. And if you're on the site, his articles are now posted with us as he's part of the team. But I think they want it to be a stern test to an extent. It looks like it will be. I just don't see, wins up Thursday and Friday. So you're going to be hitting, which, a guy like Tiger comes into play, right? He can hit that stinger right off the tee and keep it low. And, Fleetwood comes to mind. If Stinson was here type deal, there's a lot of guys here where that comes into mind. If the good thing about, but then your approach has to be on with the wind and all that. So for me, yes, I went a lot more bogey avoidance around the green in the sense of, I think there are birdies to be had, but when it gets tough, who can keep the tracks, keep the train on the tracks, avoid the big numbers and keep rolling through 4 rounds, I think has to factor in some. I don't know how much. Obviously, ball striking approach is always going to matter to me, and it does this week. And fairways gain, I definitely will take a look at. It's hard to look at some of those stats because it's such a limited size that you don't know how much that factors into. Guys will play the tee box differently, not having to club up, they can club down some. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Overall, I'm generally looking at who's playing solid. Recent form seems to be a factor at this time of the year, and I'm going to factor that in, which, a guy like Rory, you can worry. Your boy, X, Schauffele hasn't played, since, like 2 months now anywhere.
7 weeks.
Yeah. So the idle guys probably take a back seat to me overall, although being a no cut may not be as bad as normal because they can shake it off. But man, you get too far behind in a field, you may have trouble catching up. But, no cut event, and if I'm projecting a 12 to 14 under kind of win deal, a guy can afford to shoot, a 1 under and even day one, get loose. We all know X can go deep on any given day. So he's not completely off my board, but I'm interested to see how the industry takes his little picnic break he's been on. Other than that, not really. No other. I'm gonna kind of focus. Obviously, being bent grass, and I really probably a tick up to guys that got to play last week. Time zone difference already adjusted. Similar greens, bent greens. I do like that those guys just a tick. Like if I'm looking at maybe a tiebreaker or something like that, I like the guys that are already settled in routine for the week. And it'll carry over for next week. Another no cut WGC, different time zone type deal. So as we get 3 weeks into it, it could matter even more. Why don't you lead us off with our first tier? We got 4 tiers of picks. This is 9K or above. Who are your 3 guys you are eyeing at 9K or above?
All right. I'll start with the one I like the best first. You say Weston driver course, possibly. Good in the wind. This played last week. I like Gary Woodland a lot at 9,500. He was 3rd last week. I love Gary Woodland in a no-cut event. He's a great iron player. He makes a lot of birdies, and if he's rounding into form, now I'm worried about the guys at top. But Gary Woodland won the U.S. Open, so he can show up pretty well here. So I like Gary Woodland a lot. He would be a core play for me. I'm looking at Adam Scott. President's Cup is coming up. He wasn't great in his last event. I think it was like 47th or something. But now in a different continent, and if he's going to try, if this isn't just like a money grab situation, if this is him trying to get in a real competitive mode, he hits it straight. He fits, and also in the same breath, Paul Casey. We talked about Valspar already. We all know his history there. He was good at Eastlake this year. And he had a win on the Euro Tour not too long ago. So, Woodwin, Scott, Casey all kind of have similar games. If you're afraid of, JT or Rory at the top, then maybe you're going to – all those guys are right around the same price. And those are the guys that I like.
Yeah, I think overall gut reaction, instant reaction Monday evening is that because of perceived value, some of these guys that quote unquote have taken price drops from last week, mainly because of the strength up top, are more strength up top. Obviously, JT played last week, and some of these guys, the reaction as stars and scrubs will be in play, at least to me, because you got guys that are in the mid to low sixes that, people actually know their name, as opposed to last week. There's probably 15 to 20 you could almost toss out immediately, at least 15. And there's some this week for sure, but I think there's more of those high sixes, low sevens, mid sevens, even 3 or 4 you could throw in the 7,000, be able to play the guys up top. And those guys are going to be in play. I mean, guys, you're not coming to this pod to hear me say that Rory and JT are in play. Well, no shit. I mean, of course they are. Matsu's home country. Obviously, I think he'll probably. I expect some overreaction to his performance last night, which is great. I would take a low-owned Matsu again. I don't think he'll be high-owned at all because you're either going to go up top or you would drop to a Casey or maybe even a Shoffley. I don't think Minnie will touch Spieth because I don't know if he still knows how to hit a fairway. So a little risky there. This track doesn't play too well for him. I do like Scott. I don't think anybody's here for a money grab. I think people 500 FedEx Cup points. I think guys playing this are trying to position themselves to be able to have a couple breaks in the spring. We talked about that earlier in the is that these guys are trying to get banked as much as they can heading into a grinding schedule next year. Like we mentioned, everything pushed up with the Olympics and Ryder Cup. So I think he's here to play. He obviously has a great track record on these kind of greens. I think it's better if he can club down because the last few times we saw him, he kind of was spraying it. Even his T17 at the Safeway, I think he had the first day was great, and then he kind of got out of whack a little bit. Followed it up with T42 at Shriner. So hopefully the break has helped him. He's on my round table kind of short list. Obviously, you already mentioned him. My 3 guys, and 2 weeks ago, I think we were almost identical, or we were on each other for a lot. I have none of your guys, so we're definitely different this week.
Okay.
I like Finau. A ninth at Shriners, a little bit of a break, not much. I like his demeanor in this kind of event, no cut. He's definitely a scorer who can get a bogey or two, but Eagles is in play for him, as well as some birdies. Decent on bent, nothing to write home about. I think could go overlooked, and so he's a guy I'm eyeing this week as an overlooked type guy. Fleetwood, I love Fleetwood this week. Liked him last week quite a bit. T20 last week, he's pretty solid on all the stats I'm looking at. He definitely high on the bogey avoidance. So I think he's a guy that can grind out, especially if it's a tough win situation. And right now, I should have mentioned already, there's no really advantage I see because I think that both ways would hit it in the afternoon, just vice versa, one Thursday, one Friday. And without a cut sweat, right now, I'm not going to factor it at all. Could change by Wednesday or late tomorrow night as long as we can get in. But I like Fleetwood, 9,800. Probably could be a little chalky-ish, but Casey's right there at 10-1, which I expect to be a lot higher owned. And then I'll go back to Victor. I like Victor 9,400. Stat-wise, he's going to pop. He's limited on sample size in my deal, but a bad week for him last week was T31. 94 seems a little high, maybe perception-wise, so I don't mind taking a stab there. Most will bounce off. We'll get to Morikawa in a minute. I got him on the roundtable list. So I don't mind him either at 91, but my 3 is Hovland, Fleetwood, and Finau. I'll roll right into our second tier, which is 7,600 to 8,900. These guys I had trouble with because I have a feeling they're just going to be uber chalky. But I can't not talk about them. I'll have some different guys that I think we can pivot off of a little later. I think the deep dive that I put out, I'm actually going to try to do it late tonight after we get done with this, but hang out with the family, kids and stuff. I put it out last week on Tuesday. Just didn't give enough time for the guys, and I felt bad. So I think I'm going to stay up late and get it done tonight. And I'm going to look heavy into some of those courses you talked about. I have a couple more that I actually like as comparisons that I researched. And so I'm going to try to do a mixed blend at how these guys have played at those kind of setups and involve that in the deep dive. And it's one of the better articles I do as far as get, a different view of things. And so I'm interested to see how that plays out. But I want to see how these guys rank there and maybe find some sleepers, because these three I think are going to be chalky. I'm interested to see yours. But Adam Hadwin's is number one in my model. I'm going to assume he is talked about on every podcast out there. He loves the heritage. He coming off a second, a fourth. He's just green screens across for me, all checking all boxes. Number one in my model overall. So Hadwin's there. Sung Jae, I like. I 8,800. I maybe could go under the radar. A little bit of a price discount if I remember right from last week. He got a lot of birdies last week. He just kept getting bogeys, and so he can never really get into contention. T39 at the end of the day. If you're playing him, it's he does seem to have a good split on bent versus Bermuda. He's got enough rounds in, obviously, because he plays like 9,000 tournaments a year, that he's got a full size. But he's a guy I don't mind going to if ownership dictates that he's going to be a good play, and so I do like him. And then lastly, I like Ryan Moore, number 13 in my overall initial model. 8th last week. I played him last week a little bit. 13th at the Shriners. He did have a miscut at Safeway. Kind of a good floor guy in this no-cut style. I don't think he's going to go out there and potentially win, but not definitely on the plus side of my Bermuda versus bent, or whatever you want to call it, grass type comparison. Recent form, decent, top 15 in this field. He's okay, but the 7,800 price gets you into play there. We'll see how if he's chalky or not. I got a feeling he'll be talked up based on his course comparisons to some of those other ones. He's done well there as well, like Hadwin. Who are your three in this range you like?
All right. Well, I looked at Hadwin. I did. He hurt my feelings at Safeway. He almost caught Champ. But I do like Sanjay is one of my guys. And I just want to add with him that, yes, he does make a lot of birdies. But a couple of weeks ago, he won an event on the Korean Tour. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't really – nobody really knew about it because it wasn't a PGA event. He comes off a win, and maybe that had an effect at the CJ Cup last week. And maybe now maybe he was just like in victory mode. He was celebrating. He's in his home country. And now he's getting to get back to work. So I like Sanjay M a lot. And maybe
I would lean towards and this goes just from talking with Kenny and stuff. Not that Americans don't have pride. We definitely have pride, but I'm led to believe it's a huge pressure cooker for a guy that's in this year much more hyped up to potentially win in that environment. And I think that it may not affect him at all, but I would lean more towards the home track. Pressure has more to do with it than victory lap per se. But to your point, maybe a mental deal there, whichever way you went last week. Certainly talented to compete this week. And maybe guys jump off of him, which I'm fine with that. Go ahead, didn't mean to interrupt.
No, the other guy, sticking with a Kenny Kim theme, Benny On, makes a lot of birdies, keeps it in play. You never know if he's going to putt or not. Usually doesn't. But I wasn't crazy about this range to begin with. So from 76 to 89, but I like Benny On in a no-cut event, makes a lot of birdies. I like him. The guy I kind of like the most, now he's not going to win, but he has been playing well. And I think he was popular last week and didn't perform great. But that's Rafa Cabrera Bello. He's got a second and a sixth place recently. Fairly accurate player. Can make a couple of birdies. Can make a couple of putts. I kind of like Rafa a little bit. So I'm going Rafa, Sungjae, and Benny On in that range.
Rafa popped for me. He was on my round table. Benny On, liked him last week. Got out to a pretty hot start. I think first round leader.
First round leader, yeah.
Yeah. Finished 6th. He never really – you kind of expect him to fault, and he really didn't fault. He just he just got, I mean, just guys played well. I mean, you'll take a T6 from him. 87 seems like a discount. My thing with him, which I do like, is that range right there, those high eights. If people force Rory, JT, and such, it's going to be hard for that range to come in on a consistent basis. I think one thing, one thing I'm trying to focus on in relaying to the community, you know, in our premium content type stuff is like people in the industry, and this doesn't matter the sport, they forget that you still have to construct. I don't say they forget, they just don't think about, they think about chalk, but like all that stuff has to fit. Like when I do my ownership projections, like there's a thing in there that says, all right, you have to kind of lean one way or the other. And if you lean that people are going to try to play those top guys, like that's great, but you can't fit a bunch of low 9s and 8s with those guys as far as an overall projection model, because it just doesn't mathematically work unless everybody's going to go down and play 6,200 guys. And that's just not the case. And so it's a great point. A guy like that could slide down because as you start, as my boy Tambo likes to say, actually have to click the button. You know, you start with Rory and then, you know, maybe drop down to a 9,000 guy. And then you go, oh, I want on. And then you go, oh, well, now I only got X left per guy. They unclick one of those guys and they go, well, I need 2 7s now and maybe a high 6 to get me where I want to get to. And that takes experience and time building, understanding it all. But that could be a sweet spot this week, especially if you go balanced. So great point there.
All right. Yeah.
And lead us. Go ahead.
We're going to go into the lower range, below 7,500, right?
Yep.
All right, I like this guy last week. He finished 12th. He's got a 12th and his 13th in his last 2 starts. That's Corey Connors. Great iron player. Again, wonky putter. You never know. But he's in good form. And I'm really starting to warm up to Corey Connors. Again, President's Cup. If that matters, we're going to – I don't know. The internationals, maybe they show up this year. We'll see. I'm going this is a guy I never play, or I'm looking at him. I haven't decided if I'm going to play him or not. But I think he'll be low owned. 7,100, Rory Sabatini. He's got a 31st and a 10th in his last 2. That's more of a course fit play more than anything else, and ownership perhaps. Yeah, when we're talking about those courses like at Heritage or Valspar and Colonial, Rory Sabatini, you know, he's not some bomber off the tee. He's going to keep in a play, and I just hope that. Well, I'm looking at him. The guy I really like, and I think he's underpriced. JT Poston is 6,600. I'm going back to him. He won at Sedgefield. He missed the cut his last start, but he was 11th before that. And again, this is a course fit. And I remember there was a tournament. I can't remember specifically which one it was, but it was a type of a birdie fest. And I saw JT Poston up there, and I didn't think that it was something that would fit him, but he showed me something. So I kind of like JT Poston at 6,600. So I'm going Poston, Connors, and possibly Sabatini in that range.
Yeah, Poston, T11 at the Farms, miscut at the Shriners. He does have good history at some of the courses you would peg if you're trying to do comparison. He burned me at the Shriners, probably well with some of the other guys, but he's definitely in my player pool as of now, high up, you know, top 27 right now in the model. So a guy at that price that is for sure in play. My 3 was Reeve as number 1.
You love Chez Reeve.
Yeah, anytime you can get him where he can be hitting close to the similar club as the field off the tee box. So whatever they hit off the tee is whatever, but his second shot, he's in play with a lot of the other guys. It's an advantage to a guy like that. Ryan Armour style. He's number 4th in my stat model for the week. He's going to hit fairways. He's going to hit greens. And if he can just putt and get it going, 7,400, I think is a really great price. I love the 70-1 on him. He'll be probably shortlist to make the card betting wise. I like that he played last week. He played at the Shriners and Safeway, missed the cut at the Shriners, T33 at the Safeway. Lots to like about Reeve. Price is cheap, so I expect him probably to be up there on the list as far as ownership goes, but maybe I'll get surprised by that. My next one is Griot. kind of like last week. I mean, I like him in a no cut event because I don't have to sweat, his 3.5 footer on Friday to make the cut. So he's the guy to get the birdies with the best of them. He just gets way too many bogeys and doubles because he sucks at putting. But T26 last week. So I don't know if it helps him mentally. That'd be an anecdotal thought by me to say I don't have to worry about the cut. Just get out there and play. If that helps him or not. Between Euro and PGA, been playing a lot in some decent form. Missed 2 cuts before the T26, but had T39 right before that. So average form, but I do like that he's another guy. Again, I mentioned earlier, I like guys that played last week. So I like that he played last week. Anytime he can get any kind of warm and fuzzy on greens, it's to our advantage. And at 7,500, I like him. My last one, I love, but he's my sleeper. And I'm going to leave it for that because I think he may contend. And I love him a lot, actually, and maybe a lock for me. But my third in this range will be Fratelli, 6,700. Kind of a theme here, same as Griot, right? A guy that can struggle putting. But when he gets hot, he gets hot. You don't have to worry about him missing a cut. I'll play him decent across the stats lane, top 25 at 6,700. I like that. Nothing crazy there. T43 last week, which, in that event's about middle, a little worse than middle. So nothing great. Missed a cut at the Shriners. But before that was a T7 and a T6. So I think the form is decent enough. Played last week. So he's in my pot at the 7,500 or less. Our last tier is a little different. If you're new to the pod, we do a flop, a fade, and a sleeper. A flop is just a pure guy we think won't return their dollar per point value. A fade is you're fading anybody for any reason. Ownership, course history, recent form, lack thereof, any of those. Doesn't play the long putter, whatever you want to call it. No reason in particular. And then sleeper is our absolute favorite play at $6,900 or less. Nagels, kick us off. Who is your flop, fade, and sleeper?
Okay. I just want to say I like that Reeve call. Now that I'm thinking about it, he won the Travelers, and Fratelli, he won the John Deere, right? I mean, both of right, so
yes,
both of those courses, right in the same mold. So I might have to take a look at that. For a flop, I'm taking Hideki as my flop. I don't know if that's a bold statement or not. There's that running joke about, can Hideki win?
Tambo send you some money or something to piss me off?
No. I love Hideki, one of my favorite golfers. But, there's that running joke, can Hideki win? I've been to a couple of majors, and I've followed Hideki around, and he has this contingent around him. Now he's playing in his home country where, besides Tiger, no one's going to get more attention than Hideki this week. And to this point in his career, he hasn't exactly lived up to the hype in terms of winning majors and that type of stuff. He's won some tournaments, yeah, but I just think him playing in his home country with the weight of the world on his shoulders, I don't think he's going to return value. Was he the third highest price in the field or fourth? He's up there, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So that he would be my flop. For my fade, it's got to be Spieth. I know he finished in the top 10 last week, but from what I heard, that was all just a strong putting performance. You mentioned it before. He's still having a hard time hitting the ball off the tee. And until his ball striker comes around, I'm not going to – I like Jordan Spieth a lot, but I wouldn't play him. I can't. And for my sleeper, I think I got a good one here. And I like even more the fact that you mentioned that it might be windy. How about Graham McDowell? 16th and the 15th in his last two. You think wind, Pebble Beach. He's got a good record at Heritage. I like Graham McDowell a lot. 100 to 1 right now, but he's got some pedigree, and Graham McDowell is my sleeper. So think about it.
Yeah, he played well last week. He was in there pretty much the whole week. He had a start off bad Sunday. I played him in Showdown one day. I can't remember if it was Saturday or Sunday, and then wound up driving or hitting his second shot on par 5 to about 6-8 feet and made an eagle. So that was he didn't finished okay. 6,800, I do agree. I think he could play definitely in form.
Do you think he'll be popular?
No, I don't think enough of him. There's enough down there this week that he can definitely I don't think there'll be anybody down there that's just stupid, chalky, not right out the gate. We'll see though as the week goes on. Okay. Obviously, my flop is Spee. I don't think mainly price, really 10,000. I think the short game is what the short game is. So I don't go and say it's luck. He loves Bermuda. I mean, loves Bent. He's can play and do well here. But in running the showdown stuff, we didn't have a lot of data last week, and we won't this week. I don't think shot tracker's there. Maybe it is. That'd be awesome. But he, looking at fairways hitting greens, said he just wasn't hitting a lot of fairways last week. And this week you don't hit fairways, even if you're just a little off. The rough looked pretty thick, or at least enough to make people think about it. And very tight tree line fairways. So if he's not hitting them, now maybe clubbing down for him is an advantage. My deal is I just can't pay the 10,000 for him. Like if he's 8,900 this week, I may take a toss at him. And I go back to, if I'm going to build 100 lineups, and he's showing 3 or 4%, his elite talent alone level potential. Let me rephrase that. His potential elite level. I'll match the field on something like that, 5%. But if you're talking 1 to 3 lineup build or anything, I'm not on it this week, not at all. And I don't even know if I play him in an MME style. That's how much the 10,000 doesn't make sense to me with the other guys around him. This will probably seem like we set this up being two of our favorite golfers are each other's fade, but my fade is going to be Xander at 10-4. I really just I looked at some of the comparative courses, and he hasn't done great in those courses, which I'm not weighing like all in, all out. My biggest deal is just hadn't played, and I wonder how long it's going to take him to hit form and get going at 10-4. If he was 9,100 or something, I'm all about that. I'm interested to hear the talk on him because he's such a good player, and I was on him his first 2 victories on tour, official releases of mine. So I'm definitely an Xander guy. He did crush my soul beating Woodland over in, I think it was Hawaii to start the year out with his like 60 or whatever the hell he shot that day on Sunday.
62.
Yeah, I had a Woodland ticket, so that hurt me.
I had a Xander ticket. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, I had him his first 2. I was on him. I would say, I don't know how early you were. I didn't even know you back when he first started, but I was one of the few first in the industry to ever bet on him and win his first 2 tournaments for sure. And so I love the kid. I think he's got grit. I think he'll grind. I love his background. If he's going to be sub 10% at 10-4, that's a different story come Wednesday. So I will toss my fade in, which fade doesn't mean completely. It's just, if he's going to be high up there, I'll move elsewhere and take some leverage with some of the other guys up at the top or high 9s. But if he's going to be a 7-8%er this week, that's a different story. I just like his style altogether. I think he'd probably be more in play because I think guys will want to come. If they don't just go way up to Roy and JT, they're going to want to be around that Casey, Xander, Scott type range. And so he could get looked over for sure. My sleeper is a guy that's been on my 6-figure team summer of 18. Great guy, caddy, amazing dude. Met them finally in person at the Wyndham. Joel Damon, I love him this week. I think his score last week wasn't indicative of how he was playing. He came in with pretty good form, got a 9th at Shriners. And then you talk about a picture perfect model for what everybody's calling the courses, comparative courses. Like that dude plays those courses well. And at 6,400, he's my free bet of the week. I've already bet him at 150 to 1. I'll take him, and I especially like Joel if it's a lower scoring event. So if I'm modeling that 11 to 14 under, he's a guy I like him play there. He can make birdies with them. He's a guy that can get off to a bad start or a really great start, right? He's a first-round leader auto bet most of the time if he's starting early. And then, he can get off, and 3 or 4 bogeys and kind of get your work. No cut event. I do like him. T40 wasn't just terrible by any means, but at 6,400 can really open up some leverage in your lineup building. I like him a lot this week. I'll be way overweight on him, whatever he winds up coming into. Let's wrap this up, round table style. Give me 2 or 3. We're changing this up just a hair. This and betting. I'm changing the format. Give me just 2 or 3 guys that you don't think we mentioned at all. And then I'm going to ask you, if you were building a single bullet lineup as of Monday, who are two guys you would lock into there? But starting out, just two or three guys. I can start this one out. Easy one's Tiger, right? We didn't mention him hardly at all. I do think the way that he could potentially need to attack this course, I love. I would state probably one of the best putters ever on bent. And then lastly, as far as strategic type player, get around the course, i.e. Augusta, there's probably no one better as well at doing that. And so if what I believe the tournament's going to look like holds true come Wednesday, I'll be on Tiger. Lower scoring or higher scoring, however you want to look at it. So -10, -11. I think the Augusta this year was a 12 or 13 under type winning score, if I remember right. Puts him in play, right? He can compete in that. Like he's. I don't think he'll ever be able to get into one of those big 22 under type deals. I think it's harder for him. Didn't have to worry about the cut. Fairly warm most of the. 70s, but it's like that all day. So it's not like they're going to start out at 41 and then climb up. I think, as far as the back and getting loose, he loosened up yesterday. So I kind of caught his mid round a little bit, the little bit of watch. 1, 4 or 5 skins, I think there. So we'll see. I'm not going to play a hyped up Tiger. I don't know if he will be or not. I like his demeanor. So he's one I have on my list. I don't think any of us mentioned. Kisner is another guy I don't think any of us mentioned. Obviously loves bent greens. That style, of course, where he's, we talked about Reeve. I think Kisner is there as well, where, he doesn't give up so much off the tee. His strategy around the course, plotter. I like Kisner. And the guy I don't mind going back to that we haven't mentioned, I had Scott and Casey and those guys that we kind of already talked about him, is Nah. I don't know if people are just kind of over Nah, but 7,900 for a guy that loves putting on bent, one of the top and plus minus in the field at bent versus other surfaces. He's got a 14th, a first, and a 20th in his last 4. He missed the cut at the Safeway, but followed it up with the win at the Shriners. So I don't think form's anything we got to worry about. I actually think 7,900 is a little cheap for him, so he's on my radar as well. Before I give my 2 bullets, who are 2 or 3 guys? Obviously, I bet one of them. So who else did you have?
I was looking more in the lower range. I wonder what's going to happen with Day now that he won the skins game. I don't know if people think he's viable because he's priced lower, a lot lower than the other guys that he just competed against. So I'm curious to see what people are thinking about Jason Day. But down in the lower range, I was taking a look at Lucas Glover, just from a course fit standpoint. I was trying to figure Glover or Sabatini. And you just mentioned Kisner. That was somebody that Kisner loves those. He won the match play, the WGC. Mm-hmm. People send him tweets about his game, and he'll always zing them back, making a crack about. But I made $500,000 this week or whatever it is. Kisner likes those big purse events, but he hasn't played in a long time.
Day's a good one. I kind of missed over him. Definitely, if you go off of the one tournament and then obviously yesterday, I think it looks like his irons are back, which is what's been missing. Got off the tee okay. Short game's always going to be impeccable for the most part. So definitely in play. Yeah. Short up and down for him is good.
I was looking at Siwoo Kim. Won the Players, won Sedgefield. He's 125-1, and he's 6,400, I think, something like that. So I'm sorry.
I didn't mean to cut you out. Any thoughts on Tiger?
Yeah, well, I find it. The first thing I was going to ask you when you mentioned Tiger was what is the temperature? But the guy hasn't played since the BMW. It was a long time flying across the country. You didn't like Xander because he's got a 7-week layoff. Tiger's is even longer than that. I understand it's Tiger Woods, but if you don't like someone because of a long layoff, maybe you're talking strictly ownership with Tiger, but where is he? What's his ceiling for as high as he's going to finish? But you think it's going to be in the 12, 13 under range? So I think it's going to be a little higher than that. I think you're looking at 17 under. depending on the rough. But.
Well, rough is up a little bit, and at least watching last night. And then the wind is the big deal. I mean, right now I'm talking, they're showing like 20, 30 mile an hour potential afternoon winds. And so,
okay. Well, then forget it.
But we'll see. I mean, I don't know Japan weather is from the next guy, but if by Wednesday, Thursday, it's a lot less. I mean, Tuesday night into Wednesday morning, it's calming down with potential. Right now, there's 10 to 15 mile an hour steady in the afternoon with 25 mile an hour potential gusts, rain both days potentially, late Thursday, all day Friday. So seems sloppy, seems like a grinder, but that could all change by tomorrow, right? And so you're right. I'm only on Tiger in the sense of I don't think he'll be owned very much, sub 10%, which Tiger's low, and the grinder mobility. Like I mean, he's a guy that his ceiling for me is he can win, right? He can win this week by all means. He's got that kind of Michael Jordan it factor when if he shows up, he can win it. But, I'm not saying I'm going to come in here and go 25% Tiger, but on the right notes, he could certainly win. But the hard part will be, I don't think many people want to spend $9,300 on him. So my vision is I can have like 7% Tiger, say I'm building 100 lineups, Tambo style. I'll take 7 lineups of Tiger for a chance at it, say I'm, a little overweight, that kind of deal. Like I'm not saying he's an auto plug in a 3 max, or I'm going to go 20% in a 20 lineup type build. Totally different thing. I just think he could be worth having a sliver of, especially he got to putt the greens. I like that he got that last night. Putting for him is big, but you're right. The keep people off. I just like the low ownership there if it comes, but if not, then I'll pass on him as well.
It'd be freaking awesome if he won. I'll give you that. That would be pretty cool. And yeah, even better if you're on him. So
yeah, and I think potentially he wants to try to position himself to be able to pick himself. That sounds kind of weird, but he may be able to do that anyways if there's enough. Brooks may not be able to play now with the injury. We'll see. So maybe some slots open. And I assure you, if there winds up being injury slots open, I'm pretty sure he'll fill in. So instead of just rambling through betting, we're going to give 2 each in the zones. And then our dark horse, who's 2 guys you like at 50 to 1 or less?
Woodland at 35. I really am afraid of Rory and JT. I'm not going to lie. So I like Woodland. I'm going to play Xander at 28. Just because I'm glad he's back. If he's in the mix, I'm going to want him to win. So I got to have a ticket on him. But I like Woodland a lot. So Woodland and Xander.
I like JT, but, man, it's tough to win back-to-back on the tour. But if there's anybody that can get on a run and get hot.
Killer.
Yeah,
he's a killer. He's so good. He's got 2 wins, a second, and a fifth in his last 4 starts, something like that. Yeah, he's great. He's great in no-cut events. He loves Asia for some reason.
I hope most people pass on him for that reason, because this type of event he could finish 8th but finish 4th in scoring and still be okay, right? Depending on what you think about Rory. So that'll be interesting. My 2 guys were Hadwin, because I think he's going to be so chalky in DFS. I may bet him at 50 to 1 and pass on, or go maybe low owned or under ownership projections. And then Finau, I like. I'm not a big guy that bets high up on the board, so 28 to 1 is not like my style. I don't know if I'll get there on my actual card, but guys are all in play for me if you like that. Morikawa is one we didn't mention at all, and I do like him. I just want to put that out there, whether betting or DFS, but I do like him DFS. He was on my round table that I left off. I just saw the note. So I like him a lot this week. He just didn't fit the mold on things we talk about. Mid-range, 50, greater than 50 to 1 or under 80 to 1. I've already mentioned I'm not going to regurgitate all of it, but Reeve and Kisner are the 2 I like in that range. Who are the 2 you like?
I got Kisner also and Benyon, 55. I like those guys. Yeah, Kisner, man, I'm telling you, sneaky money lover, that guy. So you might be right in the mix.
I think he'll be there this week. Long odds 80 to 1, 20 to 1. One out for Telly. I like him at 100. A guy I haven't mentioned yet. I didn't mention him on round table because I knew I was going to talk about him here. Is Jason Kokrak, 85 to 1. Not really played much. He played Shriners T63, and then he had the next time he played was 4 weeks early, Greenbrier. So form's kind of in question with him. or that obviously was striking the ball really, really well. He's a guy I love to play. I would love to play no cut versus cut because he can certainly be dead by 8 holes into a tournament on a normal style. His floor and ceiling are massive. Like he can be 5 under first round leader type looking or +7. So came off probably one of his better years on tour. So he's a guy at 7,000 dead even. I'm keeping my eyes on, but I like the 85 to 1 number. 2 guys in that range for you.
I like Graham McDowell, 100 to 1. My ears perked up when you said 30-mile-an-hour winds. That's perfect. That's right in his wheelhouse. From 80 to 120, McDowell was the only one that I had. I'm sorry, Gup. I just what's Shane Lowry's odds now that we're thinking about wind? Let's see. Is he like in that 50 to 80 range probably?
Right on the edge, 45. He could be 50 on some, but yeah, he could be right there.
Okay, that might be somebody. That might be somebody to look at. But yeah, I like Si Woo at 125. So
okay,
that's kind of like right in the mix. I'm going to play him, and JT Poston is 135. So I might take a flyer on a couple of those guys. But yeah, man, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was to say, obviously, mine I already gave out earlier. Damon, 150 to 1 is my dark horse play. To get my full card, you know, if you're not on the site, go ahead and get signed up. And I'll release a lot of it tonight. Hopefully, being that we get so much of the betting out quicker because of the start time. If not, most of the card or all the card will be up, or we close our eyes tomorrow night. Jeff, anything before we wrap it up? And get to work on watching a little Monday Night Football up your way tonight. Jets,
right down the street.
Patriots.
Yeah, they're.
I have the Jets +10 on that. I went, I think 7-1 yesterday in betting, and very well in the Super 7 on our site. So good Sunday for me because college football and golf was not so great. Kind of helped me out. Hopefully, Jets finish it off for. Any thoughts on the tournament besides that? WGC next week, big boy tournament, be fun. And I think there's an alternate event too, a off-field
in Bermuda
PGA also. Yeah, so that'll be new course there is our new tournament. So we don't normally cover those as much, but there will be 2 tournaments next week. So anything you got to wrap it up?
No, man, Xander's back, baby. We got to tune up this week, and then next week we're defending WGC China. So I'm back in it. Xander's back. I'm gonna be locked in, ready to go. So I'm very excited. And good luck to everybody this week. Thank you, Gup.
Yeah, normally if you're new to the pod, Wednesday nights we have a premium member chat room open at 8 Eastern for our Emergency 9, where Tambo and I go through our final thoughts, taking all 48 hours of what's chaos in golf world for us. Definitely different strategy than football, where you kind of get paralysis by analysis type deal, or analysis by however you say that. And golf, it's wham bam, thank you, man. Like you got a lot. Now it's even worse because it starts Wednesday night. So 48 hours from now, the tournament's already going to be an hour and a half in. So we can't obviously do that, but we will start the coin flip earlier this week. We normally follow the E9 with the coin flip at 9:00. We'll move that to 8:00 so we can let you enjoy the golf when it comes on live on TV. So 8 Eastern will be the coin flip with Tambo and myself, which has been absolute fire between that and the Audible. Some hellacious picks. Unfortunately, Tambo and I can't seem to take our own picks and put a damn roster together. But 2 weeks ago, I think it was, I was on Bridgewater. Saturday night, I said naked Aaron Rodgers, fade Atlanta, fade Matt Ryan. I mean, almost every call I could come up with, and Tambo as well. We were all over it. And NFL wasn't terrible, but for what I called, I would have thought it was a lot better. I even had someone on Twitter. He's like, man, where's it? I need to see your green screens. I know after the pod, you guys killed it. Not so much, but it wasn't a total loss. I did have some sweat, and it was decent. Hopefully tonight. I did the prime time last night and tonight, and I actually have some pretty good sweat going in tonight. I nailed last night's card for the most part, so a little bit to keep me interested. And then if Saturday night we'll do the Audible. We'll have that back this week, 6 or 7:00 Eastern, 6 Central. I will update you guys Wednesday on how we're going to handle Next week, I don't think there'll be any major changes. Just off the head, I think Halloween is Thursday night. I know Wednesday night some people do some stuff, so shouldn't be any changes, but I'll let you know if we have that coming up. Last reminder, join gupscorner.com. Use the code NBA25 for 25% off. Enjoy your Monday night. For JB behind the mic, my partner Jeff, we will see you Wednesday night, 8 o'clock, coin flip. Thank you. Have a good night.
SmashFactor.